Published in 1987 by Data East and originally released on arcade, Karnov features a character from the Soviet Union known as Genbarov Karnovsky. Thankfully, this character was nicknamed Karnov because, well, who'd want to say Genbarov Karnovsky over and over? The game was made available on the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum, but the NES version is the one most home console gamers will know about. The game has a simple opening screen with two dragons breathing fire at each other and basic information about the game and its publisher. You immediately jump into the game starting with 2 extra lives. Karnov doesn't have a health meter, but instead is allowed 2 hits before death. After the first hit, he turns from a reddish hue to blue, so you are well aware one more hit and you're dead. In typical side-scrolling fashion, you have the ability to jump to different platforms and heights within the game. You kill enemies by shooting what I assume are fireballs at your enemies, but you can use your imagination with that part and decide for yourself what a muscled-up hero from the Soviet Union would be able to fire from his nipples. You occasionally come across the same red balls that you're firing as a weapon that can restore one hit you most likely have lost at some point. If you haven't taken damage yet, picking up the red ball increases the number of balls you can shoot at enemies up to 3 at a time. I was lucky enough to get 3 shots only once or twice, but had 2 on several occasions. This is pivotal to quickly advancing in the game because it does have a spread effect to the shot, and this allows you to kill the enemy twice as fast, or in this case, having the ability to kill projectiles an enemy shoots at you while also hitting that enemy comes in very handy. One nice feature is that once you have the extra shots, you don't lose them once you take a hit. I'd prefer to be able to have the extra shot count as an extra hit and have more than 2 times I can be hit, but it's okay for the sake of difficulty. Karnov uses a system where you can pick up different power-ups to assist you in making your way through the game. Some of these are offensive weapons, while some of them are passive, but at some point the use of these power-ups becomes necessary for advancing in the game. An example of this being the shoes needed to jump across long pits in the ground, or the ladder being used to reach power-ups that are beyond the reach of the standard jump. The most common thing you'll see is the K letter power-ups. Collecting 50 of these will give you an extra life. To my understanding, because I've never been able to play this game on arcade, these are much easier to find on the NES version as compared to the arcade version. It's a good thing too, because with the increasing level of difficulty the game has, you'll need some extra lives along the way. Fortunately, the game does use a continue system so you can keep on playing even when you run out of lives. The gameplay itself is fairly smooth with some of the typical annoyances found on the NES. It can be tough to jump and shoot at the same time, and this is required a lot with this game. Moving and jumping can be clunky at times, but it doesn't render the game unplayable. There were a few times I had to get positioned exactly right to make a jump, and although it's annoying, it's expected if you play many retro games, especially on the NES. The enemies increase in difficulty quickly, with lots of them shooting projectiles. They come from the air as well as the ground, and in some cases with this game it's in rapid succession. You have to quickly adapt from jumping over and running past projectiles to jumping and shooting. It's a challenge to say the least, but it isn't overwhelmingly difficult. Given the premise of the game, I expected some weird enemies, and oh boy, I wasn't disappointed. Rock creatures that throw boulders, floating gargoyles, fire-riding goblins, square brains, and even Confederate soldiers are some of the common enemies you'll find in the early parts of the game. The first stage boss is a depressed merman that apparently throws his own kidney stones at you, while the second stage boss is a ghost with a lion on a leash. Once you kill this lion, he starts chucking knives at you. That makes sense on the NES, I suppose. If I have a complaint with the enemies in the game aside from the weird mishmash of design, it's that they don't spawn consistently. There were a couple times after I'd die, I'd make it back to an area of the game and an entirely new enemy would spawn that didn't the previous time. If I died and had to do it again, it wouldn't spawn the next time through. This added some unpredictability to the game, which 100% added more difficulty. You couldn't learn the patterns until you could time out shots and jumps because you never knew when something new would be thrown at you. This is some of the few times I experienced real retro rage while playing Karnov. As far as the atmosphere of the game goes, it's nice to look at. Sometimes the game got a bit bland with large splashes of the same color, but given the capabilities at the time, it wasn't hard on the eyes. The background changes a lot, which helps to keep things feeling fresh as you move through the game. The sound effects are simple and don't really add anything to the experience worth mentioning. The music, like with most NES games, was repetitive because it was in a loop, but I didn't notice myself getting annoyed with it. Either it was softer than some games, or the loop was long enough I didn't notice myself humming it out of boredom within a few minutes. I scored this game based on appearance, meaning the quality of the map and character design, story and concept, controls, difficulty, and atmosphere, meaning how the music complements the game's scenario and visuals. The final score for this game in my book is a 3.7 out of 5. The game is definitely worth a playthrough and has a lot of replay value. I wouldn't say it's a must-have addition to your retro collection, but it's a worthy addition to it. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe to this channel for more fun gaming content. As always, Thank you for watching.